Well, hello everybody. I'm going to have a good talk here for a few minutes. Work's over, and I want to get this out. I just finished several reports. The biggest being from Boston, Massachusetts. State governor released data from the university with all the variants. There's lots of different names. As usual, CDC, FDA, way ahead. I always trail them. I do trust United States data. I always have. I've listed my reasons for all of that for all of you. Canada, Canadian Medical Association, zero accountability. USA, not the same animal. You want to go to one country in the world where you can't get away with malpractice and many other things. Drug companies do not get away with poisoning people. Sometimes they do, but in the USA, it always comes around, goes around, and there is always justice in the USA by a large margin compared to every other country. And why that brings me to the topic of this and why now I am absolutely pro-vaccine. That's me, my choice, but I am definitely going to be pro-choice from here on out. The data's in from Boston, Massachusetts. Those with 2 shots have a death rate of 0.005 with Delta and several other variants. So yes, people fully vaccinated do get COVID-19. There is no question. It's a virus, people. This is not a cure. Viruses generally don't have cures. They have ways of neutralizing it. Takes even more. But this is an immune booster. That's all that this COVID vaccination is. I've known that. I've read all the data on it. I've ignored all the lunatics from other walks in government who never really gives you any data whatsoever or real explanation. They fly by the seat of their pants. That's the unfortunate autocracy called Canada. But I am a great researcher. I go by the numbers, making the best choice I can make possible. And I'm going to tell you, 0.005. For those laughing, why are you even on my feed anymore? Go live your life. Let me have my choice. Let me have my explanation. If you don't like it, beat it. You've been asked to go. But it shows your radicalism. Your radicalism. We are paying mass amounts of money. Mass amounts, people. For all the lockdowns and everything that's happening. Vaccinations do not have a death rate or injury rate so far shown at all. These people who say everyone in my family got sick or died or blah, blah, blah of a vaccine, not in any real numbers. And in USA, there's compensation programs. There's even liability against drug companies that people say, oh no, they signed, there's no liability for this emergency COVID vaccination in the States. Oh, really? Because they've done that before in the USA, and there are lawsuits to back that up. If a company knew and smudged numbers or fudged the work they did or put stuff in the vaccine that doesn't lead to any healthy realization, they get sued, they pay, the government doesn't let them walk. USA, of all countries in this world, has that people's power. Is it 100%? No, but it's way, way better than anything Canada. I know that for 100%. 100%, because there's zero accountability in Canada. That being said, these are the real numbers. Whether you guys like it or not, I trust Republicans. I'm going to trust Pat Governor. All the work by Boston, Massachusetts State University. Trust it all. Numbers are in. They don't fudge that stuff. You can get sued. A state governor and their government, what is equivalent to our ministries, have checks and balances, multi-party. You get caught, which the other party would love that. I know these concepts are hard for Canadians to understand because there is none of that in Canada. There's no accountability. You wouldn't see Liberals and NDP with an elected Conservative having to split in the checks and balances, 4 from Liberal, 4 from NDP, 4 from another party. They wouldn't have that. They wouldn't have that. That is an American design to keep politicians as honest as possible, even when they lie and they do to get elected. But when they get elected, they get in, they find out, we've just hit we the people roadblock called a state constitution. The data in Boston, Massachusetts, well ahead of Canada, got the variants, got all that. They don't even have as high a vaccine rate. We see the staggering numbers coming in. And you know what, everybody? 0.005 for all those under 65. Way ahead of any other numbers. And before people say, oh, but the death rate's only point blah, blah, blah of a percent. When you add that to all our other death rates, it pushes hundreds of people out of ICU. It wrecks thousands of surgeries, and people can say, oh, just hire more doctors, expand your health services sector to meet the growing demands of now COVID-19. Well, for the tiny little province of Alberta, everybody, 4.3 million people, those ICU additions that Jason Kenney's put in have come at a whopping $2.75 billion. $2.75 billion. We're not even getting into all the surgeries, cancer, and all the other problems. You could probably triple that number. What is the deficit going to be next year? We can't run on pure service sector absolute expense. We can't, people. It is a proven fact. And I'm a physical conservative. When I look at the data, vaccines are the best way. If you're over 65, go get that third shot. If you want any extra time in this world, if you're scared of COVID-19, it's up to you. But you will take the ICUs. In Saskatchewan now, do you all remember my video about pediatrics and international law giving away bed spaces of children of ICU to COVID patients? Because that's exactly what Scott Moe's done in Saskatchewan. He is giving pediatric beds, ICU, for children, regardless. So if your child drowns in a pool, got rushed, they're trying to won't get a bed because it's now been given to a COVID-19 patient. That child may be brain dead by the time they get to another bed in the next closest hospital. That is against human rights. That is where we say you can have your rights at no threat, harm, or expense to anyone else's. When you start expensing children, you've got a government crazy lunatic problem. You don't ever hand over children's lives for anything else. That is a fundamental human right, the worst atrocity of human rights. But this is Canada, the lunacy of Canada. Is that what we are, Canadians? We let our autocratic governments give up children's ICU spaces to adult COVID patients who are largely unvaccinated. And whatever Scott Moe's thinking, or governments are thinking, or NDP, or the healthcare system, you're a gross human rights violator. Regardless of how you're trying to spin this to use it to your advantage, maybe that's the case here. You do not sacrifice children's lives. And Canadians, honestly, by the data from the United States of America, I don't want to hear the radicals anymore. I don't. I am a terrific researcher. I get the bread and butter for all of you, and I am a hard physical conservative. I love my rights and freedoms, but not at any threat, expense, or harm to anyone else's. I have common sense, and I come forward to everybody that if you're not afraid of the vaccine, or you truly care about your country, go get vaccinated, because it will ensure, one, you're likely not to spread at any higher rate than the unvaccinated, who can spread even if they don't have symptoms. You won't push the healthcare system to the limits, you will effectively save the country a lot of money. A lot of money. And you will crush the left regardless, because they won't have you utilizing the system and negatively impacting it, which all the left loves, because they can keep jacking up the money. And I promise you all Canadians, there is no primary GDP currently right now in Canada that can afford this. Hasn't afforded it for years, and even years before the pandemic. We've been on a slump down because somebody is running autocratically, all provinces, and of course the federal government, that we can print money, borrow money astronomically. That's what people think. This is the data. You take it as you want or you don't. But if you truly care, you'll get vaccinated. The data's in now. I can't argue it anymore. And Boston's in. They've had many, many more months than us. Vaccine rates are in with the Delta and all these other named variants. I went through the entire report, largely by a large margin. Will you get COVID if you're vaccinated? Fully vaccinated? Yes, you will. You will get it. But its impact on you has been dramatically reduced, and your infection rate with other people is dramatically reduced. Dramatically. COVID's here forever, like many other viruses. It's never going away. It takes generations to beat it. It's just a booster. Have your religious choice or make your choice, but just remember, when the astronomical cost associated with COVID-19, lockdowns, people have to wear masks, the things they're doing in employment, and the costs just keep climbing. When do we say enough's enough? I've made my choice anyway, and it was the right choice. And the data presented from trustable, bondable sources, at least the greatest ones in the world, ones I can trust. And in my personal life before this, I have trusted well beyond my government, because they are not accountable. They don't give a shit. They only care about spending your money and filling their back pockets. But as an average Joe Jane, working third class, I'm going to tell you, the best way out of this is to go get vaccinated. I stamp my stamp on it. It's your choice, but just remember, you don't, there's an astronomical cost associated with that. Your mentally handicapped government, who couldn't manage nothing because there's no rules of governance, no rules of how to govern, and absolutely zero accountability. Scott Moe, the stupid, as dumb and even worse than Jason Kenney, as unbelievable as that is now allowing them to take pediatric ICU beds for COVID-19 patients. Putting children out. That's some sick country we live in. A perverted, sick, diseased country that can't even get human rights right. Incompetence, or they just don't give a shit. Because why should they have to? They're never going to be held to account in Canada. Now you guys can share this or not. If you want to stay with the anti-vax nerve, it's not going to change. We're going to stay in lockdowns, going into extreme socialism. We're going to keep going until people come to the realization this is all we have to combat this. I'm sick of wearing masks. I'm sick of lockdowns. And I'm sick of the government going so far to the left. All parties. And they don't care, as long as they can blow all your money and fill their back pockets. But it's you, the average Joe Jane, the average family, who will suffer. Who will suffer? Already cancelled surgeries for Alberta, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's in a worse place than Alberta now, by the looks of it, and their smaller population, 4 times less. It's just devastating. But children's pediatric ICU. What the hell, Scott Moe? What is wrong with you? You dumb bell. Our country is broken and people don't see it. But that's my video. Share, share, share. It's up to all of you. Take it as it is. It's real, credible, verifiable. Go look at the governor of the state of Boston, Massachusetts. of Massachusetts for Boston University and the Republican Party and all their data. Currently, today, the report's out with all the variants who are much, much ahead of Canada, right? Because they did the rollout first and they don't even have a high vaccine rate, but they give you all the statistics of even the vaccinated. Again, everybody, fully vaccinated, 0.005% that you'll end up in ICU double vaxxed. 0.001, of 0.5 that you'll end up in ICU, it's higher. And 0.001% that you're going to die from COVID. Those are terrific astronomical numbers. When you get in the millions, yes, it translates into a few hundred people dying of it. But that's if the entire population's infected. That's the rate. It's not that. But those are the numbers of those unvaccinated, clearly. These variants aren't going, the virus is always going to adapt and grow. You need to have children and procreate, and then genetically it passes on as the virus is constantly going to be introduced. But for those alive today, this is the best you're ever going to get. The best you're ever going to get. And yes, there's an immunity, but it takes generations, and it won't be everybody. And I'm not saying it's a super killer, but it's a super economic killer. That's reality. Think about it. And think about those children in Saskatchewan. Because I know if I was a father and I found out my kid had an accident at school or something happened on the bus and they couldn't get to the nearest ICU and they had a 12, 18-minute ride and they tell me, I'm sorry, your kid's brain dead, blah, blah, blah. And I find out that the nearest pediatric ICU that was supposed to be available to them had some COVID patient in there, adult, male or female, I don't care either one, but my kid couldn't have that because it was immediate right now and they had to find a place for that person. I'm going to lose it. I don't know. I would lose it. We pay for these services. They're there for us. People say, oh, just get more ICU, more beds, $2,500 a pop. Think the cost of 300 beds, 365 days a year at $2,500 a day. And the staff for that, whether it's used or not, that's what people's solution is. Idiotic, out of the realm of economics. And that's not me. Truly a physical conservative. I love rights and freedoms, but again, at no threat, harm, or expense to anybody else's. And I am just an average Joe Jane, drive an old truck, live in a trailer, not financially wealthy, not getting paid to tell anybody anything, only because I care. And I take the lumps for it. I take the lumps. But it's my job to tell you the numbers as they really are. And these are the real numbers. And I will take anyone on it. Sorry, that's how it is. Bye. Everybody have a great day.